and welcome to Do the Right Thing, your weekly writing prompt podcast. I'm Alexandra.
And I'm Jarvis.
Jarvis and I are about to rob the house of a very terrible old man. But there's all these runes all over the place, and we can't quite read them.
Exactly. So to try and upgrade our reading proficiency, we've decided to issue a challenge. Each week you sit down and write a complete short story using 3 or 4 randomly generated words.
Then on this podcast, we read the story, we talk about what we learned of writing it, and then we talk about stories sent in by you, wonderful listeners.
Exactamundo. We're simply here to help you do the right thing.
Doof, media, production.
Yeah.
We're so clever.
I know.
So, how are you, Jarvis? What's up? How's it going?
I am doing very good. I am quite tired for no real reason, but I've been drinking my Monster energy drinks, pounding a lot of water, and I'm excited for another episode of Do the Right Thing.
Yeah, I just took a shot of water before we started rolling, so I'm ready to go.
How does your skin feel? Yeah.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, actually, I have a really, really big bottle of vodka just sitting next to my computer, so you can kind of tell how my past week has been.
I mean, if you really think about it, it has been New Year's.
And I do have
the
plague, or I did. I don't know if I still do. We'll see.
And there's been a lot of articles that say drinking high quantities of alcohol is a good way to defend against COVID-19.
I don't want to endorse that. Maybe just I trust Jarvis that his sources are reputable, but maybe do your own research before you drown yourself in alcohol while you are dying of a respiratory disease. That's just a pro tip from me.
I mean, because when you do drink, it makes you breathe slower, right? Which means that those COVID molecules have less time.
That's true, to get in there. Yeah. Well, another thing is that this vodka tastes like Germ-X. So, it's got to just be cleansing my entire mouth and throat as it goes down. So, really can only do good.
I wonder why we don't just take more alcohol baths.
You know what's
just baths and full alcohol.
You know what my tip is? Just gargle some vodka every morning.
Yes,
just gargle it
every morning after your toothbrush and toothpaste.
I mean,
gargle some vodka?
Isn't Listerine mouthwash basically just like a watered down version of gargling your mouth with vodka?
It is, yeah. So I mean, why would you pay $13 for that than something that you can gargle and then drink?
That's right. That's a 2-in-1. Yeah, you can't drink mouthwash. You can't drink. Well, I mean, you can, but you're not supposed to. And you can't drink your toothpaste, but you can drink the vodka you gargled with. So,
yeah. And you'll be squeaky clean and smelling like roses.
Yeah. So that's Do the Right Thing's home remedy. I would love to hear everyone's reactions to it and sort of, how does it work for you? Do you gargle with bourbon, whiskey? What's your little ritual?
Jack?
Anyway. sorry.
What's your little ritual?
What other words this week, Jarvis?
So thank you so much for asking. The words for this week are threat, rate, indulge, and entitlement.
Wonderful. So this week the theme was home, and I was really excited to hear all of the different or to read all the different interpretations of that concept. That was really interesting, especially because people took it very, very different ways.
Yeah, and I mean, really, I think it's because we did choose such a broad topic, and I really did love how people took it and just went with it. There are people writing stories about what home's not, what makes a home, and then also people writing stories just about home. And I don't know, I just really liked the different interpretations, not only of the prompt, but of what home is. So yeah, it was a really great job this week.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the story that we're reading this week?
The story we are reading this week is The Terrible Old Man by H.P. Lovecraft.
So our old good old boy, H.P. Don't look up the name of my cat, Lovecraft. is back again.
With a
So
vengeance.
yeah, so y'all may notice that we are reusing a lot of the same authors. You have to understand. So we're only
It's hard to find new authors.
yeah, it's because we're doing public domain stories, right? And there's only so many repositories that like have public domain stories specifically that are within our word count range, because most short stories are actually much longer than the 15 minutes that we want to read the story on here, right?
Yeah.
If a story
And
is
they also have to be good, and it also has to be something that we can find some sort of topic on.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of different layers that really goes into which story we do end up picking, and it does pretty much make us stay up some nights just trying to figure out what this one story is saying, just because we want to use it. So.
And it's also I'm certain that there's a lot of public domain stories like done now, that an author has written and just released for anyone to use, but I don't know where those are. So if you have any ideas on where some public domain short stories are, hit us up. We'd really appreciate that.
Stories.
Yeah, under 2,000 words ideally. So that's our difficulty. Anyway, Lovecraft is back here with the terrible old man. So Lovecraft is obviously he's known just in general for doing a lot of eldritch stories and things like that, right? The very insanity inspiring, right? Cthulhu, etc. This isn't quite that, but I think it's still within the vein of like there's clearly something horrible going on here.
It is definitely adjacent. I mean, through reading this, which we're about to read it in a bit, but I did notice that his prose aren't as, should I say, gaudy, and they aren't like over explaining and over detailing every aspect. This felt a lot more like a story and not so much like his normal rambles.
Oh yeah. I'm remembering what's that one story of his that I hate because of how many descriptors it has. It's one of his earlier.
Are you talking about Dagon?
No, it's an early one. It's not one that we covered here. Right now, actually, next to me, I have a collection of stories by him. It's this published under the title Macabre Stories. It's probably not under here.
Macabre.
It might be. Is it Dunwich Horror one of his stories?
It could be Dunwich Horror, because I do remember that story being very detailed. Do you know?
Oh, the terrible old man's in here. I didn't realize that.
Oh, nice.
It's right here in this little book.
Do you know if it's part of the Cthulhu mythos, or is it more of his dream cycle stories?
I don't know anything about dream cycle stories. I've never heard that term.
Ooh. Yeah, they're really good. Basically, it's a book filled with short stories of him walking through this place that he calls the Dreamlands. And the really cool thing is that everything that is within that story, to a certain extent, is based off of real dreams that he did have.
That's terrible.
I know, and you really get a sense as to how fucked up this guy is.
Good. I'm always
based off of what's in his dreamscape. But
I'm so happy for him.
Me too. Hopefully he's doing good. I haven't really heard anything from him in quite some time.
Yeah, when's H.P. Lovecraft's next work coming out?
Yeah.
I hear he's still working on that great American novel.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Dagon 2.
Dagon 2. That's this is where they come back in their even faster cars, and they smash an even bigger boat into
an even bigger boat.
Just kidding, that's Cthulhu. All right, let's get into the story.
An even bigger god. Yeah, sure. Can't wait to hear it.
The Terrible Old Man by H.P. Lovecraft. It was the design of Angelo Ricci, Joe Chanek, and Manuel Silva to call on the terrible old man. This old man dwells all alone in a very ancient house on Water Street near the sea, and is reputed to be both exceedingly rich and exceedingly feeble, which forms a situation very attractive to men of the profession of Messrs. Ricci, Chanek, and Silva, for that profession was nothing less dignified than robbery. The inhabitants of Kingsport say and think many things about the terrible old man, which generally keeps him safe from the attention of gentlemen like Mr. Ritchie and his colleagues, despite the almost certain fact that he hides a fortune of indefinite magnitude somewhere about his musty and venerable abode. He is, in truth, a very strange person, believed to have been a captain of East India clipper ships in his day, so old that no one can remember when he was young, and so taciturn that few know his real name. Among the gnarled trees in the front yard of his aged and neglected place, he maintains a strange collection of large stones, oddly grouped and painted, so that they resemble the idols in some obscure Eastern temple. This collection frightens away most of the small boys who love to taunt the terrible old man about his old white hair and beard, or to break the small-paned windows of his dwelling with wicked missiles. But there are other things which frighten the older and more curious folk who sometimes steal up to the house to peer in through the dusty panes. These folk say that on a table in a bare room on the ground floor are many peculiar bottles, and each a small piece of lead suspended pendulum-wise from a string. And they say that the terrible old man talks to these bottles, addressing them by such names as Jack, Scarface, Long Tom, Spanish Joe, Peters, and Mate Ellis, and that whenever he speaks to a bottle, the little lead pendulum within makes certain definite vibrations, as if in answer. Those who have watched the tall, lean, terrible old man in these peculiar conversations do not watch him again. But Angelo Ritchie and Joe Channock and Manuel Silva were not of Kingsport blood. They were of that new and heterogeneous alien stock which lies outside the charmed circle of New England life and traditions, and they saw in the terrible old man merely a tottering, almost helpless graybeard, who could not walk without the aid of his knotted cane, and whose thin, weak hands shook pitifully. They were really quite sorry in their way for the lonely, unpopular old fellow, whom everybody shunned, and at whom all the dogs barked singularly. But business is business, and to a robber whose soul is in his profession, there is a lure and a challenge about a very old and very feeble man who has no account at the bank, and who pays for his few necessities at the village store with Spanish gold and silver minted 2 centuries ago. Messrs. Ritchie, Channock, and Silva selected the night of April 11th for their call. Mr. Ritchie and Mr. Silva were to interview the poor old gentleman, whilst Mr. Channock waited for them in their presumable metallic burden with the covered motor car in Ship Street, by the gate, in the tall rear wall of their host's grounds. Desire to avoid needless explanations in case of unexpected police intrusions prompted these plans for a quiet and unostentatious departure. As prearranged, the 3 adventurers started out separately in order to prevent any evil-minded suspicions afterward. Messrs. Ritchie and Silva met in Water Street by the old man's front gate, and although they did not like the way the moon shone down upon the painted stones through the budding branches of the gnarled trees, they had more important things to think about than mere idle superstition. They feared it might be unpleasant work making the terrible old man loquacious concerning his hoarded gold and silver, for aged sea captains are notably stubborn and perverse. Still, he was very old and very feeble, and there were 2 visitors. Messrs. Ritchie and Silva were experienced in the art of making unwilling persons voluble, and the screams of a weak and exceptionally venerable man can be easily muffled. So they moved up to the one lighted window and heard the terrible old man talking childishly to his bottles with pendulums. Then they donned masks and knocked politely at the weather-stained oaken door. Waiting seemed very long to Mr. Channock as he fidgeted restlessly in the covered motor car by the terrible old man's back gate in Ship Street. He was more than ordinarily tender-hearted, and he did not like the hideous screams he had heard in the ancient house just after the hour appointed for the deed. Had he not told his colleagues to be as gentle as possible with the pathetic old sea captain? Very nervously he watched that narrow oaken gate in the high and ivy-clad stone wall. Frequently, he consulted his watch and wondered at the delay. Had the old man died before revealing where his treasure was hidden, and had a thorough search become necessary? Mr. Channick did not like to wait so long in the dark in such a place. Then he sensed a soft tread or tapping on the walk inside the gate, heard a gentle fumbling at the rusty latch, and saw the narrow, heavy door swing inward. And in the pallid glow of the single dim street lamp, he strained his eyes to see what his colleagues had brought out of that sinister house which loomed so close behind. But when he looked, he did not see what he had expected, for his colleagues were not there at all, but only the terrible old man, leaning quietly on his knotted cane and smiling hideously. Mr. Channick had never before noticed the color of that man's eyes. Now he saw that they were yellow. Little things make considerable excitement in little towns, which is the reason that Kingsport people talked all that spring and summer about the 3 unidentifiable bodies, horribly slashed as with many cutlasses, and horribly mangled as by the treads of many cruel boot heels which the tide washed in. And some people even spoke of things as trivial as the deserted motor car found in Ship Street, or certain especially inhuman cries, probably of a stray animal or migratory bird, heard in the night by wakeful citizens. But in this idle village gossip the terrible old man took no interest at all. He was by nature reserved, and when one is aged and feeble, one's reserve is doubly strong. Besides, so ancient a sea captain must have witnessed scores of things much more stirring in the far-off days of his unremembered youth.
Wow, wow, wow. So I really dig this story. I mean, from the get-go, we are hit with a lot of great imagery that definitely paints this town very well, but we are also able to clearly see the intentions of these 3 that are just trying to make a quick buck. And I really do like the part when Mr. Channick is standing outside, and as he's waiting and waiting, us as the audience really do fear for what could possibly happen. And I mean, there is really great tension there that is nicely cut when we see that the old man comes out and not his 2 colleagues. So overall, I mean, really, really great story.
Yeah, I really like this as one of Lovecraft stories because of how understated it is. Like,
yes.
We kind of know as we go that this terrible old man has obviously got something much more sinister about him, right? With these, these Eastern idols or whatever. Obviously, Lovecraft has a long history of, a lot of his horror coming from, racist places and stuff, right? All the sinister stuff is from far off foreign lands. That's why it's a captain. But anyway, this imagery of these spooky idols that scare all the people, and these bottles that you could kind of surmise must like contain the souls of his crewmates or something of that sort.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, go way out of its way. There's no like cloaked, cultists. We don't see what happens. The screams are sort of told, almost with some distance behind them, right?
Yeah.
Like the story is told in present tense for the most part, right? But when we hear about the screams, it's told in past tense, right? He has heard these screams, Mr. Channick, while he's waiting. So yeah, I think this is one of his better, just chiller stories. Like we mentioned with his with the word choice, right? I think the story I'm actually thinking of it had something to do with a dog. I don't know what the name of that story is. But anyway, where like I remember reading a passage from one of his stories, and it had like so many adjectives. Like each sentence was just exhaustingly long. And I think this it has some of that, thick Lovecraftian, style of imagery. Like I'll pull out a section.
Yeah. But yeah, I do get what you're saying. I mean, definitely reading this, I see how Lovecraft has kind of adapted his normal style from what I'm used to seeing, and making it a lot more focused. I mean, because I know when I normally read Lovecraft, there are those huge sections when he's just rambling on, and it's not even set in a place, and we're just describing like what is beyond the like black sky. And I mean, it is really cool, and it is and it is invocating a feeling out of the audience. But I mean, with this story was a lot more focused on place, character, and time, and not so much depending on his own like very long-winded style to kind of carry this story over. And I mean, it works in his favor to where through and through you know exactly what is happening, and you're never really that confused about anything.
So I just went and found my book, and I actually have the page I want to the paragraph I want to read out bookmarked. So this is really easy. So this is from a different this is from Lovecraft's story called The Hound. So I knew it was something with a dog. So I have this one paragraph highlighted because of just how much description is here, and this is definitely a style you can emulate. Like, it's valid. It's just like not my favorite. It's not as modern a style.
Yeah, I mean, also it is very aged, like to a modern audience. A paragraph filled with description is interesting, but it won't really fly. I mean, overall, we all have shorter and shorter attention spans year by year. So.
Yeah. So this is the paragraph. So at last I stood again in the unwholesome churchyard, where a pale winter moon cast hideous shadows, and leafless trees drooped sullenly to meet the withered, frosty grass and cracking slabs, and the ivied church pointed a jeering finger at the unfriendly sky, and the night wind howled maniacally from over frozen swamps and frigid seas. The baying was very faint now, and it ceased altogether as I approached the ancient grave I had once violated, and frightened away an abnormally large horde of bats which had been hovering curiously about it. So, like, this is valid.
A lot of those words would be considered unnecessary.
Yeah, where it's like, it sounds better as it's read, but when you're reading it, like...
It's thick.
It just takes a long time to get through it, and you kind of... It's like by the time you get to the end of the sentence, you've kind of forgotten what the first thing is, sort of. And it just doesn't need this many, you know?
I mean, like every single last object within that paragraph had 2D descriptors and then like a color added to it, which I mean, I also see how he's trying to kind of create this like sort of motion where the like mind's eye is supposed to go, but it definitely does get lost when the tower starts pointing a crooked finger north, and then the willows are drooping down to the grass and the cracks. It is a lot to really take in.
Yeah, so I just want to compare it to a line of description in The Terrible Old Man. So this is when they arrive at the gate. They met by the old man's front gate, and although they did not like the way the moon shone down upon the painted stones through the budding branches of the gnarled trees, they had more important things to think about than idle superstition. Like, that's so...
It's quick.
Yeah, but it gives the same feeling of like, there's a spooky moon, right? It's shining spookily, right? That's basically the entire thing in both.
Pretty much.
So, like, both are valid, obviously. Like, if you want to have that many descriptions as from The Hound, you can. It's just a lot, and it slows it down a lot. So, anyway, that's a tangent.
And I mean, I mean, definitely going back into the terrible old man. That is one thing that I enjoyed in this piece versus other Lovecraft pieces, is that we are going somewhere. Like no matter how much description is being listed, we're always linking it back to our main characters. And looking at that paragraph from the Hound, never within that whole section was it linking back to the person that is really viewing it. So it kind of disconnects us as the reader from the scene that we're reading about, in a sense.
Yeah. So I've gone off a bit of a tangent here. Let's talk about the challenge for this week.
Yeah, sure. So the challenge for this week, after reading The Terrible Old Man, is that we would like y'all to take any trope, whether it be a robbery, or maybe a normal 9 to 5 job, or maybe even getting your car fixed, and add some sort of supernatural support to it, some reason behind whatever is happening being supernatural.
Well, I had more of a idea behind it of like taking a trope like the a terrible old man, or a creepy old man or something like that, or some normal like strange thing in people's lives, right? That is, I mean, it's just coincidence, or it's just probably prejudice or something like that, and then add in a supernatural element that supports it. So like in this one, the terrible old man actually being a ghost captain is the one. Or you could take like the concept of your socks being always disappearing in the in the dryer. Where do they go? Maybe there's some sort of sock gremlin or whatever you want.
So basically taking the normal and then making it super normal in a sense.
Yeah. So it's like, in my mind, it's kind of like this doesn't change the outcome as much, but maybe adds like a sinister element or some sort of reflection on ourselves.
Adds another layer to it.
Yeah. Actually, if we want to reflect that and sort of view this story through a theme like that, something maybe looking at this story, a theme you could sort of take away from is that, like, this old man, by sort of virtue of living a super long life, actually is even more horrible than these robbers. Like, these robbers have come to rob an old man, but I think they don't want to kill this guy, right? Like, that's not the intention. They're okay with it, but like, that's not the intention. Whereas this terrible old man has seen terrible, horrible things throughout his life, right? That's sort of implied with with the ending of reflecting on his long life, and has done some cursed things, right, to his crewmates and things like that, and sort of I don't know, maybe there's some sort of view there of like, actually older people, even if they look feeble and things like that, they're just by virtue of their paths, of their histories being so long, it's kind of inevitable that they have some terrible things in their past.
Yeah, older people have none the less have sort of more compounded evil in them.
Or they can, anyway, I guess.
Yeah, they
I don't want to say that the theme of the story is that old people are evil, but it's just, I don't know.
But I mean, like, it is the virtue of living longer is that you've had more time to make the wrong choice or to do the bad thing. So they have more, I guess, of that bad mojo on them versus these guys trying to rob him. Even though these guys have probably done bad in their past, but that doesn't really measure up to a whole life lived as this sort of like naval captain.
Yeah. Or I guess it's more like, if someone hasn't like tried to improve become a better person over their life. Just because they're old doesn't give them a pass, I guess.
A pass, yeah.
I don't want to make it sound like I'm just hating on old people. That's my concern.
So you were saying that old people should be taxed more.
Because
they've caused more damage over time.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yep.
Okay. Cool.
I'm Alexandra, and I approve this message.
Nice. Well, on that note.
No, please don't. Please don't. Oh, God. I'm going to get canceled in 20 years over this.
Please. When you get canceled, I will be right there, and I will wipe your tears with my $100,000 bills.
Yeah, from the reparations.
Finally. It finally came in. 27 years too late. But
I feel like 27 is not the. When was the original? Was it Abe? It was Abe, right? That was 40 acres and a mule, right?
Yes, 40 acres.
Once you have your 40 acres and a mule, that's when racism's over. It's just we just fix that. And
but they didn't give everyone that.
No, they didn't give anyone that. I mean, okay, they gave some, but like almost no one.
Like 5 people. And then also they didn't tell them what to do with this land or how to do it, and they didn't give them any tools. So I will take my 40 acres and a mule in terms of a sort of monetary installment plan, which I would love to start now. You know, on top of my government check.
Yes, that sounds it sounds like a plan. I'd vote for it. So
yeah, that's why we vote Bernie 2021.
That's right. Bernie, 40 acres and a mule. Sanders. That's his. Okay, let's.
That's his full legal name.
Do y'all think that we could become a better political podcast than Chapo Trap House? I think so.
Honestly, yeah. I think if we had a few articles, we could make politics fun again.
I think that's the only goal there is to have.
Make politics
do the politics thing.
Yeah,
and it's
do the vote thing.
Do the democracy thing. I'm sorry, this is a really strange tangent. So that is the challenge, to write something supernatural underlying sort of trope or stereotype or something, some sort of natural phenomenon, and add a supernatural element that reflects upon upon some sort of theme of humanity or a character that's in the story. Just to sort of state the obvious, Pact and Pale, Wild Bows, paranormal or urban fantasy stories are really great examples of this, where basically everything in there, it's like an explanation for some whatever fairy tale we have, right? It's the reflection on humanity, and literalizes a lot of stuff. So if you want some inspiration, go for there. If you write some fanfic, I'm all for it. But yeah, there's a lot of options.
Definitely. Well, all right, let's go ahead and roll on into our listener submitted stories section. Thank you so much to everyone who did leave a story this week. It does our hearts good, and it makes my week all that sweeter. So, those who wrote this week are Captain Rhino, Sarah Penguin, Nick to You, and Matt Said Words. And also, they all wrote stories about home.
That's right. And I think everyone hit that theme in one way or another. So that was really, really cool to see.
Nice. So, up first is Captain Rhino with Exile.
So here we have... So Sarah is this mother, and she has her son Zach, and they are really poor. They barely have enough food for them both, and it's just porridge, and it's something that makes them both unhappy. And so Zach is he's upset with the current situation because they're really poor and suffering. He has a bunch of bugs biting him during the night and things like that. And he really misses his home, which it was better there. He had fruit every day and things like that. And now he doesn't. So we cut to Sarah trying to work in the city. She is a knife sharpener. She's trying to get people to sign up for her services, right? Because she's actually really, really good knife sharpener. Back home, everyone knew that she was, but here people are prejudiced against women, and they don't think that they can do manual labor like this. So she doesn't get that many customers, and suffers for it. And then this patrician is carried by slaves and marched past them. This great display of wealth. And Zach says that he wants to be like that one day, right? And Sarah's upset. You shouldn't want to have slaves. But Zach just wants a better life at home. There wasn't slavery, but it was better back there. And he asks his mom when they're going home, and she says that she doesn't know. So I really like this story. I mean, it is ripe with this really nice world building that is also telling us a lot about these characters and their sort of financial situation. And I really did like the moment when the rich people with the slaves do walk by, and in kind of what Zach does say, because you can tell that the situation that they are in isn't very comfortable, but they are living. But Zach is sort of striving for more, and owning these slaves is in this world seemingly a sort of status symbol. And I really did like that moment, because it put the rest of the story into perspective. And I think overall the dialogue in this story is very strong, and it does tell us a lot about each character and their dynamics. So I mean, overall, I just really liked it, and I really do like your portrayal of home in this. So really great job. Yeah. So this is missing a home that is now far away, in this place that maybe is more extravagant, but not as wonderful in the sort of understated ways that it was back home. And you sort of get the implication that something terrible happened that ended with or I guess their home was invaded or something of the sort by this place, and their the husband and father died defending that home and stuff like that. And it's just it's kind of like a mourning of a better place and a better way of life, and a sort of struggle of immigrants and things like that. So I thought that was well portrayed.
No, definitely. Well, all right. Up next is Sarah Penguin with "Home is Where the Heart Is."
So I like this little twist on the theme, right? Taking that phrase rather than a literal interpretation of home, and we're talking about heart and things here. So here we have Tabitha. She is a knight of this monster hunting order. She has a sword that is silver and quenched in blessed water and covered in sunflower and garlic oils. Sort of just like an all-in-one monster slaying tool, which I thought was a clever idea. So she's in here in this manor where a vampire is, and it's a pretty obvious implication. And she heads up to where to a bedroom, and finds that it's a near perfect replica of her sister's home, who was lost and killed by this vampire. At least that's the story that she tells us in the narration. But this vampire is here, and there's a woman on the bed asleep, and it's not her sister because her sister's already dead. And her and the vampire start talking, and the vampire, she talks about how she actually loved Tabitha's sister, and turned her into a vampire because Tabitha wanted to be one. Tabitha's sister wanted to be one. The implication very much that they loved each other, and that they had a really good relationship. And it was only Tabitha's orders, evilness and some of their homophobia, that specifically sought out to kill this pair of lesbian vampire lovers. Sorry, it took me a second to get the adjectives in order. Um, but Tabitha just can't accept, that her sister was in love with a vampire, and that would turn into a creature hated by her order because of love. And so she, tries to kill the vampire anyway. She's actually responsible for her sister's death, killing her, or the order is, just because they kill vampires. Even though this one doesn't even kill people, she pays people for their blood now, which it's a fun, addition of like, hey, why don't they do this? And you always wonder that when you read a vampire story, right? Anyway, but they start to fight, but it turns out that she's not nearly strong enough to defeat this vampire. And the vampire bites her and debates what she's gonna do with Tabitha afterwards. Either keep her as a blood bag, I guess would be the term, someone that you drain over and over, or turn her into a vampire herself so she can see what it's like.
Yeah. So I really dug this story. I mean, the twist halfway through about her sister not being killed by this vampire, but wanting to be one because of love was a really good point within this story. And I don't know, it really changed the dynamic of how the rest of the story would go, where the first half was really heavy in this really good description and world building. The second half lent a lot more so towards the dialogue side, which I really did like, and I do like how through this dialogue we are able to learn more about the world, learn more about the dynamic between Tabitha and her sister and this vampire. So I mean, overall, I think it is a really well constructed story, and it does have a very nice twist on what home really is, and what does make home. And I think the ending is a great, and I do like how the ending is a kind of left open to where this journey could possibly continue forward. So really great job.
Yeah, so this was a really complex emotional situation here, because right, Tabby has this underlying guilt about actually being responsible for her sister's death, even though she doesn't want to think about that. And so she hates this vampire for taking her sister away from her, but also sort of it being her fault at the same time. And then there's this added thing at the end where the vampire bites her, and I think there's like a cocktail of emotions and implications there, because it's kind of like a sexual assault, right, with the vampire biting her and injecting this pleasurable venom thing, right? I mean, obviously she was about to murder the vampire, so it's like I can kind of understand the defenses, right? But you have to imagine some terrible mix of emotions of like, She hates this vampire, and she doesn't want to feel good about it, but she does, and she also doesn't want to be gay, because she didn't want to accept that her sister was as well, so it's really big mess of emotions. So a good amount of that was captured, but I would have liked to see even more of Tabitha's emotions about stuff, particularly in the latter half. I really like what I love the whole situation, though. I love what's set up here. I think it's really complex and interesting. So, really good job. I would also like how grounded this is in this moment and scene. Right, we hear all about the past and stuff like that all through this dialogue, and I think that's really well delivered. So, thanks, there, Penguin.
It is a very focused story, and I really dig it. Well, all right. Up next is Nick to You with Hunting.
So this is in the same universe as Nick Jude's other story with that eclectic festival, right? From the other day, where there was all those mutants and things. That was written in the more poetic style. So we sort of get some implication here that the main character's world has a bunch of weird stuff going on, and it's dangerous in a lot of parts of the world. Sort of an implication of I think some sort of civil war, perhaps, or some terrible stuff anyway. So the main character, I think it's he, and some other characters find out that there is a creature that has appeared in the area. Apparently a pink dinosaur, which is, already sounds kind of strange, right? But apparently there's, more horrible monsters in other places. And at some point there was waves of demons that came and killed a lot of people sometime in the past. Not that far in the past. But they encounter the pink dinosaur, which is bright pink. It has a T-Rex head, but it has like cartoonish eyes, and it sort of sounds cute, right? But they, don't want to risk being wrong about its nature, and so they decide to shoot it, and it takes a bit to kill it, and then it poofs out of existence, and they assume this is probably it probably means it's dead, but who knows? And they sort of laugh about it, but there's a lot of speculation about where it came from, who attracted it is the question that they're wondering, and where do these strange concept monsters appear from, and what they're supposed to be doing with them.
So I really enjoy how much time this story does take to kind of get to the monster. I mean, at first it focuses a lot on home, what has been there, how their parents kind of work, and the fighting that does happen. So it does kind of leave us in this place of like wanting for this character. And then as soon as they go on this hunt for this monster, it's when things get really sort of interesting. There's some really great description of these woods and this sort of creature that blinks in and out, and them just being so gung-ho to like shoot it, because even though it does maybe look peaceful, there is still that fear when it comes to facing this. And I mean, overall, this story took me on a route that I wasn't really expecting, but I really do like where it sort of ended up, and I do like a lot of the questions that are being asked that kind of clue us into deeper possible world building that we might get later on down the line. But I mean, overall, I really do like this story. I love how it's sort of broken down sentence by sentence. It does really well at basically setting up how you are supposed to read this story through format alone. So overall, really great job. Really liked it.
Yeah, this is an interesting setting, and I'm interested whenever Nick Yu takes a journey in it.
Definitely. Well, all right. Our last story for this week is by Matt Said Words with Moving and Moving.
So this is a really cute story. So Tim and Kat are packing up Kat's apartment, and it's a big messy room, but they're and the way that they're packing up is also rather messy and things like that. But they have this wonderful back and forth dialogue. This is kind of a quick story to summarize, because the events are rather simple, while the like emotions and the character work being done is rather complex. So we get a lot of characterization in the dialogue and just how they interact with the goal of moving. And we get, that they're good friends, or, at least have a good, relationship, until finally, at the end, they're basically done packing up, and the only thing left is the stereo, right? Except instead of packing it up, Kat takes out a laser light system, plugs it in this empty room. They dance together. And so we have some lines from the music, which is actually electronic, but they're slow dancing to it, which is a nice, fun, I don't know if twist is the right word, but makes it the scene a bit unique, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they dance together, just bonding, having this strange moment together as they're dancing together in an empty room with a laser light show, as these electronic songs play, and that's the music, the lyrics play, stuff that's really relevant. Talks about home kind of being something that you have to leave behind sometimes, but like the relationships are kind of the important part, because even though like the place can change, there's like ways that you can improve with it. There's a lot you can analyze in these lyrics. So finally they finish, and they sing the final lines of the song. I assume, I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, it's just a really nice bonding scene between them.
Yeah, this is a really well constructed scene that is very cute. I mean, I really do like the dynamic of the dialogue. It is very fresh, and it's very telling at sort of how much time these sort of characters have really spent with each other, how comfortable they are with each other. And then there's also some really good comedy from how they differ and how they believe they should pack. Only for, as this story goes on, we get into a lot more sweeter moments with them dancing, with them listening to these two really, really great songs, and how the songs kind of spell out what they are feeling beneath sort of this scene itself. The songs provide us with some pretty good subtext here. And I mean, overall, I think this is a really great scene. I mean, through and through, and nothing is extra. Nothing is really missing. It's just really good work with these characters. And I mean, hey, these songs are fantastic, and I do love how much inspiration I can tell you did get from it. So fantastic twist on Home. Really, really great job this week.
Yeah, I think it's a good practice to write stories inspired by songs. I think that's an interesting way to go about it. And obviously you probably go into it having some feelings about the songs already, and I think a story is a really good way to frame those feelings and to talk about them. So
yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. Well, all right. That is it for all of our stories this week on Do the Right Thing. But we do want to say thank you to everyone who did submit a story. So, thank you very much to Captain Rhino.
Thank you to Sarah Penguin.
Thank you, Nick, to you.
And thank you, Matt Said Words.
And we also want to say thank you to everyone who did leave 2 or more comments. Leaving comments under your story and someone else's story is a surefire way to not only collect your thoughts on your own story, but you are providing someone else with crucial feedback that can make them and you a better writer. So, thank you very much to Captain Rhino, Sarah Penguin, Matt Said Words, and Nick, to you. Thank you so much for leaving comments.
Yeah, y'all are fantastic. It's really nice to, even if there's less stories in a certain week, there's still a lot of comments, and that's just delightful to see. Really encouraging, like, just that even like if a lot of people are busy, there's still some vibrant discussion and practice going on. I think that's awesome. So thanks so much, y'all.
Yeah. If you want to be like all of these wonderful writers and submit your story to Do the Right Thing, you can do that by going to /r/Do the Right Thing on Reddit. All you have to do is sit down for 30 minutes and write a complete short story using 3 or 4 words from that week.
That's right. And I think doing the right thing is probably a really good New Year's resolution. I'm kind of feeling that maybe I should get back into doing it a little bit more. So maybe you'll see some of my stories coming up in the coming weeks.
Nice. I can't wait. It is a return to form for this podcast.
Yeah, sure. And I'm really excited because there's so many other things that we're doing out here at Doof Media. So right now, actually, the voting for the Do the Right Thing contest is going on. So if you haven't already done so, go to patreon.com. And I think it's /Doof Media. Is that how that works? Anyway, the Doof Media Patreon. And one of the recent posts is that voting for the Do the Right Thing contest. So there you can see all the people that submitted. So thanks for submitting, y'all. Some really, really wonderful stories and polished stories. And it's really nice to see the polished versions of what was already sent in to the podcast. And so you can read all of the stories there. They're just easy links. and vote on your favorites. So already that's been going on. The deadline for the voting is January 9th. So be sure to get ratings soon. And I'm really excited to announce the winners of that. There's other ways to contact us. You can send us a DM on Twitter if you want, or send us an email on Twitter. On our Twitter is at RightThingCast if you haven't already followed us. And consider following the Doof Media Twitter as well. And to email us, it would be rightthingcast@gmail.com. I don't know why I said it in such a convoluted way, but there you go.
And if you want to support us and everything else happening in Doof Media, you can do that by donating money to the Doof Media Patreon. All you have to do is donate as much as you can, $10, $20, whatever you can do. That's an interesting
way to phrase it. Yeah, just donate everything you got. Just give us everything you got.
Can.
And then we won't send a terrible old man after you. That's how it works.
But if you donate $10 or more, you get access to exclusive Doof Media content, including our most recent episode of Doof Overs when we covered Death Note.
Yeah, wonderful. And we need to cover Steins Gate next.
Yes, just gotta finish watching it.
I'm about to finish catching up with Attack on Titan too. Maybe we just do a side thing for that. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I have yet to start the 4th season. I'm scared.
Yeah, I'll probably wait till it's fully out. I spent a whole day doing nothing but watching Attack on Titan, and I think my brain kind of
hurts.
It rotted a little bit, I think, or maybe it was like scoured by a light. Basically, it's just like less now in the wake of that. So that's my take. Don't spend all day staring at a big screen that has an anime on it. That's just it didn't turn out well for me.
At least take one break.
At least take a break to get drunk or something. Like I think that's probably better for you
than watching anime all day.
Yeah, I really do think so. Okay. There's of course there's so many other wonderful things going on Doof Media. In addition to voting on the Doof the Right Thing contest, there's also a vote for the game club going on right now. It's going to be a queer themed month of video games, so I'm really excited for that. So it's a bunch of queer games in the vote, and one of our wonderful community members, who's my friend Elliot. Anyway, but not the Elliot from Deep Impact and those. I was about to say not from Australia, but she's from Australia. It's just too many similarities going on here. But anyway, so I'm excited to she's going to be appearing on that episode of the game club. So I'm excited for that reason as well. And of course, there's a book club going on as well, and all our regular podcasts continuing on. So there's always so much wonderful stuff going on. Anyway, that's all I've got for you. That's all the announcements I've got.
Nice. So I think it is high time to announce next week's words.
I would say it's low time.
If only I could find it. Jeez. So the story we are going to be covering next week is The Night Came Slowly by Kate Copen.
Is it Copen? I assumed it was Chopin. Like
Chopin?
Well,
Chopin?
like the composer person.
Maybe. I mean, I am not too familiar with her work, so I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, but I did it like a good old American.
That's
Kate
right.
Copen. So, next week's words are... Can I get a drum roll real quick? Thank you. Thank you very much. Next week's words are pigeon, hunting, string, and patient.
So two of those are very interthemed. So
Pigeon
a
hunting.
pigeon is it's a kind of bird. I don't know what other twists you could do on that. I'm sure there are some, but it's probably different things like related to pigeons. I think there's probably other words, but they're related to it.
Pigeon
hunting,
adjacent.
which is to search for something very hard, I suppose, very aggressively, usually in order to kill it, but you could just be hunting for something else, hunting for answers. So that's actually a pretty versatile one. A string, which is a line, usually a thread, but it can be other things. A string of murders, which would sort of plotted on a sort of graph. I think is the idea. It's a sort of series.
Yeah. A string instrument.
Yeah, a string quartet. Yeah, you got options there as well. Patient, which is two primary definitions. One is a patient at a sort of medical institution, someone who is being studied and treated usually, or patient as in to be patient.
Patience is key. It's a virtue.
That's right. Which is to be okay with waiting, basically.
Nice. So what story are you going to write next week?
So for all those listening, keep in mind that we'll be doing something related to some supernatural things behind a natural phenomenon. So I'm going to write about why are there so many city pigeons? There's so many city pigeons everywhere, and that's because birds in general are attracted to misery. That's right. That's why there's the old wives' tale of when a bird gets in your house, this means someone's going to die. So a lot of people die in cities, which is why there's just so many pigeons there. Because they gobble up souls. They just think it's super delicious. They're hunting for that delicious soul juice that we all have inside of our bodies. Now the problem is that city souls, the souls of people in cities, are rather they're not very healthy. They're not very healthy souls. So that's why you kind of have the worst kind of bird there, the pigeon, because they're the only ones that can subsist off of this watery, just kind of toxic soul of city slickers. So when a pigeon comes to the city, it gobbles up all those delicious toxic trash souls in a string of gluttonous consumption. And usually hovers around patients of hospitals, of city hospitals. So that's why there's so many pigeons inside of city hospitals.
Wow. I honestly did not know why that was happening, but thank you so much for providing me with really good context. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So my story next week is going to be talking about oil. Not the black stuff, but the good stuff that you put in your food and on your skin. You see, somewhere deep in the good old-fashioned bayou, there is this world-renowned oil factory. They make canola, cocoa nuts, choco nuts, and even aloe vera. All of these beautiful oils being churned and strung together in a beautiful vat of liquid gold. Now, this is only on the inside, where some tours might walk through certain students hunting for little jobs here and there to try and get into the oil business. But what people don't understand is that below this factory, where the pigeons can't go, and you must be quite patient to walk down the long flights of stairs. All of this oil that's been squeezed from plants, vegetable, and animal filters all down to this giant slug-like creature who simply eats all of the oil and poops it out into very nicely tailored jars, cans, and any other kind of container. You see, we can make oil, but we can't make it shine, and we can't make it work how it is supposed to work until it's filtered through a maggot.
I think that was beautiful.
Thank you.
It's really heartfelt, and I think you did the right thing by saying it.
Thank you. I try to do that very often. Try and be as poetic